Now the question then is, how did America get to this point? How did it transition from a manufacturing economy to a financial economy? And there are different theories out there, okay? There are some economists who say that this is just late-stage capitalism, okay? This is the natural evolution of capitalism. There are some who argue that it is the neoliberalism or the Reagan Revolution that caused this. Okay, when you cut back the role of government, when you emphasize free markets, then you have this situation, the over-financialization of the economy, okay? What I want to show you today is that the real reason is the transition to empire, okay? There's a really simple explanation for why this is happening, and the reason is that after the end of the Cold War, 1991, America became a global empire. It could now set the rules of the game, and it set the rules of the game so that it would always win. And then all money flowed to America, which created all these asset bubbles. Okay? So that's the argument I'm making to you today, okay? So are we clear about what's happening? Any questions so far? Okay, now I want to explain to you how America became an empire. In fact, the most powerful empire in human history, because even though Rome was powerful, it didn't really control the world. Whereas America, the American empire today, controls the entire world, okay? And so, to understand how America became an empire, you have to go back to the founding of America, okay? So in 1776, America declared independence from Britain. And at that time, they had something called the Declaration of Independence. And the Declaration of Independence, if you read the document, it's very clear. It's what the founding fathers of America said is that we are founding a new society in America based on God. Okay? Now, the founding fathers were Christians, but they were a special type of Christians who believed in the idea of deism. And deism is the idea that, yes, there is a God, and God did create everything, but God is not interested in managing human affairs. God leaves us alone, which means that we as humans are empowered to create the world we want to create. Okay? And the founding fathers wanted to create a new society based on the idea of God, okay? And what they believed is that God gave human beings 3 fundamental rights that all governments must respect, okay? And so the famous phrase is, do you guys know the famous phrase? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay? That is the mission, the purpose of America, to ensure that every American would have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that's really the goal, the role of government. Life, to make you safe, okay? To provide security against enemies. Liberty, the right to say whatever you believe, the right to believe whatever you believe, okay? So the tolerance of all creeds, religions. Now last is the pursuit of happiness. What does pursuit of happiness mean? You guys know? So Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, and when he wrote the pursuit of happiness, he had a very specific idea in mind. What does the pursuit of happiness mean?
People in America can achieve what they want to achieve.
Which is what? Okay, so wealth, okay? So in America, your fundamental right, the fundamental purpose of your life is to make as much money as you can, to amass as much wealth as you can, okay? And the idea here is that in this society, in this new society, this new experiment called America, if we allow everyone to pursue the creation of wealth, then America will become powerful. Okay? That's the idea. And it turned out that this idea was absolutely correct. Okay? In a very short amount of time, America industrialized very rapidly. And at the end of World War II, America became the most powerful country in the world. Okay? After World War II, it decided that it can now export its philosophy to the rest of the world. So in 1944, there's something called the Bretton Woods Conference. Okay? And so in 1944, everyone knew that Nazi Germany would be defeated, okay, and Japan would be defeated, which would make America the most powerful, the richest nation on the planet, okay? Now, the Soviet Union was a competitor, but they didn't really matter, okay? They had their own sphere of influence. So America got together with its allies in Europe, and they decided what the new global financial system would look like. And the idea was that with Bretton Woods, they decided that the US dollar would become the global reserve currency, which basically meant that you could buy anything with the US dollar. Now, there are some people at Bretton Woods, some economists, who were afraid that this would cause problems, right? If you have a government which was in control of the global reserve currency, that would basically make the government God, right? If they could just print as much money as they wanted, they could become like Midas. If they touch something, it would become gold, okay? So some people thought it was dangerous. And so the compromise is that the US dollar had to be backed by gold, okay, the gold standard. In other words, the US dollar was basically like a receipt for gold. If you had $1 million, okay, you could go to any American bank and get $1 million worth of gold for it. Okay, does that make sense? So that's what we call the gold standard. And for the longest, and so that led, this Bretton Woods system led to tremendous prosperity in America and in Europe and in Japan, okay? Then, in 1971, Richard Nixon did something really radical. He basically said, we America, we're gonna go off the gold standard, okay? Remember that America had spent too much money on the space race, on Vietnam, on domestic expenses, okay? So they needed to transition out of the gold standard. But if you transition out of the gold standard, then how do you ensure the US dollar is worth something? How do you ensure the intricate worth of the US dollar? So they transition from the gold standard to what? Do you guys know? Oil, okay, do you understand? And this is what we call the petrodollar. And the idea here is that, look, every economy needs oil to run, right? You need oil as the basis of your economy. And so after America went off the gold standard, these countries in the Middle East, mainly Saudi Arabia, but other countries as well, agreed that you could buy oil using US dollars. So the idea is, okay, before, if you had $1 million, $1 million US dollars, you could convert that to gold, okay? And now you can convert it to oil. And this is what we call the petrodollar. And this is really the basis for the value of the US dollar today, okay? So then what happened is that in 1991, the Soviet Union fell, and now America was in